In this video, we're going to discuss the agents of socialization. To begin, socialization is the process by which individuals learn the norms and values of society so that they can function successfully in society. Every day, when you go about your daily life, you interact with different individuals, and you've learned to interact with different individuals in different ways. So the way you interact with your family members is different from the way you interact with your peers or your coworkers or your boss. At the same time, you've also learned to wear clothes when you go outside. And you've also learned that you wear different types of clothes for different situations. None of this is innate. All of this is learned through the process of socialization. So how does socialization occur? Well, it happens when individuals interact with what are called agents of socialization. These agents can be categorized as either social groups or institutions. We'll start first with the social groups. Family is the first socialization experience for the vast majority of individuals in the world. When you grow up in a family, you learn how to interact with different individuals, and you also learn how to interact with many material objects. For example, you learn about different utensils and which utensils you should use for different kinds of foods. One thing to know about family as a social group agent is that the results can be very different depending on the race, the social class, the religion, or other factors in each family. For example, we can consider families of low income versus families of high income. In families of low income, the children are often taught that education is extremely important. These children need to learn that they have to get a good education so they can get a good job and be successful in life. In higher income families, this may not be the case. The children may instead be told that they should focus on networking, making connections that's going to be able to help them later on in life. Another social group agent are peer groups. So peer groups are a social group whose members have shared interests and characteristics. So naturally, as an individual grows up, they're going to start to interact with individuals outside of their family. They're going to start to make friends, and these friends are going to have influences on them. So you can think of this peer group as the first major socialization experience outside of family. A very important case is high school. So when students go to high school, they join these peer groups. And in these peer groups, they become exposed to many beliefs and attitudes that they weren't exposed to before in their families. And in many of these situations, they start to interact and spend more time with their peer group than their families. So the peer group begins to have a greater and greater effect on the socialization process. Next, we can talk about institutional agents. First, we have schools. So schools certainly have an important role in formal learning, where children learn how to read, write, and do math. But at the same time, an important aspect of school is what is called informal learning, or the hidden curriculum for socialization. Here, students are learning many important skills as well as values that are important for society that aren't so obvious as reading skills or writing skills or math skills. So for example, in class, students learn that they need to get good grades. And to get good grades, they're competing with their classmates, so they learn about competition. Another example is the Pledge of Allegiance, where the children learn to develop national pride. Or patience, where children learn this characteristic from learning to wait in lines or raising their hands before speaking. Next, we can consider the workplace. So in the workplace, individuals learn to interact with their coworkers or their employees and bosses, and they're learning new sets of interactions that they may not have learned before in school or within their families. We also have religion. So in religion, people gather in churches, temples, and mosques to learn how to interact with each religion's material culture. And what's unique about religion is that there's a lot of differences in the values that individuals will learn depending on the religion that they participate in. One thing to know is that many religions enforce gender norms. Next, we have government. So with government, we have laws that have a substantial impact on the socialization process. So as examples, we know the legal age is 18. So when children turn 18, that is an important age. It has a lot more impact than when a children is turning 13 or 14 or 17. When they turn 18, it does make a big difference. And suddenly they have access to a lot more things than they had before. And at the same time, we also have the opposite spectrum. We have 65 as the retirement age. So similarly, when we think about the age 65, that does hold meaning in society as individuals that are going to be retired, or if you have individuals who are over the age of 65 that aren't retired, that's considered unusual. Finally, we have mass media. So the mass media includes television, newspapers, radio, and internet. And here, we can be socialized in very selective ways, that the mass media can choose what information they choose to present to the public. This also depends on the individual. Which sources of mass media do they choose to get their information from? As we know, there are a number of mass media sources that can be very biased, and in many cases that can support the beliefs of individuals searching for that kind of information, or it can irk those who hold the opposite beliefs. Okay, so these are the different types of agents of socialization that you'll want to be familiar with for the exam.